Hey there you are, it's Pete at Pete's Snakebite Kit. Today we're on another travel day. We're in Franklin, Tennessee, outside of Nashville. What we're going to talk about today is building a modern Cobra. Let's take a look. What we're going to talk about on this episode of Pete's Snakebite Kit is things I'm doing where I'm using some modern components or technologies and why I'm using those. I've had quite a few questions on my channel about these things, and I thought, you guys are interested, let's cover some of this stuff. So let's go over some details on the modern stuff on Pete's Snakebite Kit. The most common question I get asked on my channel is, why are you using fuel injection? Carburetors look so cool, and you know, a Cobra is a 60s thing. That's when they had carburetors. And hey, I love tuning carburetors. I was pretty good at it. Maybe not as good as these guys, but I'll go back into why I'm using EFI in just a minute. We will get back to the carburetor EFI discussion in just a minute, but it's about modern stuff. So I'm going to talk about some then and now stuff for just a minute. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the cylinder head. What makes one motor run better than another to a large degree is how well the air gets in and how well the air gets out. Ford cylinder heads were kind of wimpy back in the 60s on the small blocks, right? There were some other things that worked well, but we're talking about the Ford small block, what's in my car, right? A 351 Windsor. The exhaust port on those things were anemic. They were really little. You could get some air to go into them. You couldn't get the air to go out. If it doesn't go out, it doesn't matter. So you can buy aluminum cylinder head at a reasonable price from a number of manufacturers that outflow the best things that they had back then, right? You know, the bow tie heads on a small block Chevy, the turbo heads, the 292s, all those ported to death were very good heads for the day. They do not come close to flowing what you can go down and buy a set of you know, ported or even fast as cast cylinder heads from a lot of manufacturers now. So we've got that cylinder head that's working way better than it used to. So guess what? I'm using that. I'll show you a couple pictures of the then and now on cylinder heads. So the blue cylinder head here is a typical 289-302 exhaust port. This aluminum one is the AFR heads that are on my Cobra. You can kind of see the difference. There is no comparison. So here we have it. Good, bad, good, bad. In case you're still confused, the blue one is bad, the aluminum one is good. The next thing I want to talk about is the ignition system. The ignition systems we have today work so much better than anything available back in the 60s. You know, I've gotten shocks from kind of all the ignition systems along the way. You know, cars in the 60s and 70s with regular ignition systems, if you got a shock off of a plug wire, you knew it and it got your attention and you didn't want to do it again. But then I got a shock off of a GM HEI, was noticeably bigger. But as they progressed, it got even worse. I remember getting a shock off of a car. I worked on a project for a shop I worked at where we were doing a lot of development testing on the early Fox body, one of the first Fox body 5.0s that came out. And we were renting the drag strip at OCIR. I remember right where it was, right at the beginning of the staging lanes where you pull the car after a pass. I believe we were making a timing adjustment on it, and that thing got me. And it was a Ford Duraspark 2, and it had an MSD box on it. I am not exaggerating. My forearm hurt the rest of the day from the zap that thing got. Never wanted to do that again. I remember just a couple weeks ago looking at the spark when I was checking spark on my Cobra, which has an MSD system on it. You know, in the middle of the day when there's plenty of sunlight in the garage, you can see the spark clear as day. You know, it looks like a welding arc. So this stuff was not available in the 60s. What we have now is better, it lasts longer, it's a bigger spark, and it's the way to do it. Just another modern thing I'm using on this because it's what makes sense. Another thing I'm using that wasn't available back then is a 5-speed gearbox. Here's a picture of a Ford top loader, very tough, very heavy duty transmission. It was actually a solid cast iron case with just that entry plate in the top. Tough transmission with a whole lot of torque, a lot of power. Kind of a rough shifting transmission, to be honest. Had a few of them over the years. I've got a Tremec 5-speed. That's what most guys are putting in these things. I want to be able to click into 5th gear and kind of cruise a little bit. For some reason in the 60s, that hadn't computed yet. You had a 4-speed, 4th gear was 1-to-1. Whatever gear you ran in it, that's what you had to deal with on the freeway. Well, we've progressed a little bit since then. I'm using a Tremec. When it's time to stop this thing, I want brakes that mean business. So I ordered Wellwood brakes, front and back, 4-piston calipers. When I master brakes, I want something that stops like a modern car. Okay, so back to the subject at hand. Why are you putting fuel injection on something that should have a carburetor? And I've heard this as a question posed quite a few times from viewers on my channel. And I get the question, and it's one of the more visible things that you see on the car and so on. But there's a few reasons. Let me go through those. I don't believe I'm going to make more horsepower with this sniper than I would a good 850 or whatever I would end up putting on it. I think it'll be a toss-up. It may even give up a couple of peak horsepower to a well-tuned carburetor. Probably will have better drivability. I will bet that if I want to go up to 6,500 feet in the mountains or higher, I may really have an advantage there, because some carburetors aren't real happy when you're changing 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 feet of altitude. Hollies do pretty well with that compared to some other ones. Webers, I know a guy with a Daytona Coupe that had a set of Webers on it. He said he got up to 6,500 feet with it. Almost had to have it towed home, could barely get it started, and so on. A buddy of mine, Stan, told me he used to have a 308 Ferrari that had Webers on it. And he says God made 2 days on the weekend for a reason. One day was to tune the Webers, the other was get to drive it for one day, and so on. So anyway, the fuel injection will give a wide range of drivability as far as cold startup, altitude changes, heat changes. The other thing is that fuel injection does not have a float bowl. So it does not have a float bowl vent. I'm hoping my garage does not smell like a float bowl vent when I come out every morning when the car's sitting in there. Hopefully that will be another advantage of it. Because gas these days, it stinks. I used to like the smell of gas. With all the garbage additives they have in it, it don't smell so good anymore. Well, there you have it. My take on building my Cobra in modern times using some modern stuff. I hope you found this interesting, and I hope you enjoy these half as much as I enjoy making them. So if you build yours doing it exactly the way I do, that's great. If you build yours doing it a different way, that's great too. I just hope you're learning my perspective and coming up with your own decision. And I really hope you get to build your own. And you know what I know? Don't make me say it. You build one of these and you are going to love it. Hey, thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.